It's going to be a rough year. I think the early part, certainly the first half of 2023, it's going to be all about a high interest rates environment. The recessions in the US, the recessions in Europe and elsewhere, they're only just getting started. I think we're definitely in six-figure Bitcoin by then. I think DeFi is going to be a big narrative of the next bull market.
Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily. My name's Austin, here with Aaron, joined by the man, the legend, Guy of Coin Bureau. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure, chaps. Thank you for having me.
We got a chance to meet briefly in Dubai, which is where now the whole Coin Bureau enterprise is headquartered out there. Just for sort of the folks at home, I want to start off by getting into your origin story. How did you find out about crypto? The beginnings of the Coin Bureau enterprise. So first, before business, when did you first hear about Bitcoin?
So back in 2013, when I was living in London, I was living in East London, a very sort of trendy part of town, and I went to a pub called the Pembury Tavern, which is this really nice big pub in Hackney. And I went out for some drinks there, and there was a sign behind the bar saying, "We accept Bitcoin." And this was, as I say, like late 2013 or something like that. And maybe I kind of think back to it and I was like, is that when I first saw the word, or was I kind of aware of it before? Anyhow, that was the moment that it kind of registered with me for the first time. And I actually asked myself this question, what is that? What is Bitcoin? And the guy behind the bar didn't really seem to know an awful lot about it. But it turns out that this pub was kind of pretty forward thinking. I mean, this is 2013 and it's accepting Bitcoin. And I remember that was, quite a thing at the time. So that was when I first heard about it. That was when I first started kind of digging into it. Obviously then kind of early 2014 was when Mt. Gox and everything was busy falling apart. So I got the feeling that I'd come into it at a really interesting time, when it was, the whole thing seemed to be a little bit on a knife edge, really. So it was a great time to kind of come into it because there was just so much going on. And I just kind of dug in from there, started, fell down the rabbit hole, started reading about it, researching all I could find. And then Coin Bureau, so Coin Bureau started out as a website. We were just doing kind of written content. And we were doing that. I think I started writing for them about 2016. So it had been set up before I kind of came along as a website. And then I think it was about 2018 or so, 2017, 2018, Google's algorithm changed and the website was doing quite well. So we were sort of page one of Google. If you typed in crypto Bitcoin education UK or whatever it was, then we would be on page one. And then the algorithm changed and we went to page 8 or something like that. So we were sat around on a Skype call and thinking, what are we going to do? Where do we go from here? How do we mix this up? And it was my idea. I sort of put my hand up and was like, well, we could do a YouTube channel. And everyone went, that's quite a good idea, Guy. I like that. And then it was sort of, well, who's going to present it then? And kind of everyone just sort of, slid out of shot. So it was left to me. And that's kind of how we started, really. I can't remember when we put our first video out, if it was late 2018, early 2019, but yeah, that was the start of it.
And when you were starting off this crypto YouTube channel, did you have influences either in crypto that you liked or maybe thought you could do a little bit better than these are the people that are around right now, or these are the finance channels I want to be like, or?
That's a good question. I think we sort of, looking at kind of crypto content as a whole, it seemed to be like a lot of it was like a shouty guy with a webcam sort of up there, and he'd be kind of yelling into it. And then, that was kind of it. And we thought, well, that's not really, there's definitely room to explore something different from that. Plus, it's not really my style at all. So yeah, I think we just kind of, rather than kind of try to, rather than be influenced by anyone else, I think we were just sort of like, let's put it out there, see what people make of it. And I mean, that's the great thing. One of the great things about YouTube and putting out that sort of content is you do get feedback in real time. And sometimes that feedback can be a little hard to digest, but there is useful stuff in there. So we kind of put ourselves out there and then kind of adjusted as we went along. But we were quite lucky, I think, in that, you know, people, I think, were just ready for an English guy, just kind of, you know, fairly low energy, just sort of waffling on about crypto. So I think we were very lucky to sort of just kind of slide into a niche we didn't even know was there.
Yeah, I like your channel a lot. Been watching it for a long time. I remember we started our channel at the very beginning of 2018. So I remember like 2017, 2018, the crypto channels I was looking at as, you know, I was thinking about starting Altcoin Daily. A lot of them were good, but a lot of them I thought were, you know, they could be better. A lot of them was hour-long, like live streams, a lot of dead air, which is fine for a podcast sometimes, but it's like for YouTube, it could be more valuable. It could be packed full of more info, and you do a great job with that.
Thank you, guys. Well, likewise. I'm a big fan of the work you do as well, and it's you know, it's great. And it's great that you know, the kind of whole sector as well, as crypto has evolved, as the industry has evolved. You know, we the people who cover it, the content creators, and the crypto, you know, the wider crypto media, we have to sort of up our game as we go along. And I think it works really well to have lots of competition in the space, you know, to have lots of people out there on YouTube with kind of different styles doing different things, you know. And it's, I think we sort of drive each other along. It'd be like, oh, those guys have tried something and it really works, so how do we react to that? And I think, you know, everyone improves as they go along as a result. I think that competition's really healthy.
And for you personally, as an investor in crypto, what's your why? Is it self-sovereignty? Is it making money? Other?
I think the thing that really excited me about it to start with was this idea. Yeah, I guess, you know, this idea of a system of money that couldn't be controlled, you know, that had been put out there, and that no government, no institution or anything like that could interfere with it, could meddle with the supply. And I remember this was in the aftermath, obviously, of 2008, which is obviously, you know, kind of why Bitcoin, a big part of why Bitcoin came into existence. But I remember, I think it was about 2011, there was an interview with the guy who'd been the UK Chancellor of the Exchequer, you know, the finance minister, around in 2008. And he said something along the lines of, like, we were, in the UK at least, we were maybe 2 or 3 hours away from cash running out of cash machines, you know,
On the brink.
you know, just cash machines going dark. And the whole thing and I remember reading that, and just it really sent a chill down my spine, because I thought, if we'd got to that point, how would we have come back from that? That would have been really, really bad. And I remember thinking, it's like, you can't trust these people with the money. You know, they're the supposed experts. They're the people that we've been listening to all this time. And they brought us right to the very brink. And I think that was what initially got me about it. It was like, no, this, if it's done right, can take humans out of the equation.
Looking into 2023 now, what's your general thoughts on macro?
2023, I think it's going to be a rough year, because, I mean, we were watching the Fed's latest press conference recently, and there he is, you know, Jerome and the rest of the Fed. They are focused on crushing inflation. Interest rates are going to keep going up. I think they're now looking at about 5%, maybe a little more. And Jerome, I think, he's now talking about, it's not a case of how much higher they're going to raise rates, but how long they're going to keep them high. So I think the early part, certainly the first half of 2023, it's going to be all about a high interest rates environment. I think a lot of people are kind of hoping for a Fed pivot early in the year. I just can't see it myself. So I think we're stuck with that for a long time. We've obviously got a whole load of other macro factors, some which I think could be quite promising, some that we just don't know. Obviously, we've got the war in Ukraine grinding on. I wonder whether 2023 we may see some sort of peace deal on that. We may see some sort of agreement. That would be great on so many levels. We've also got things like China opening back up again. Is that going to be bullish? Is that going to be bearish? I think on the one hand, you've got Chinese industry restarting. You've got that massive demand for energy. Energy is already, at something of a, it's in kind of short supply. How will that affect the market? We just don't know. Or will it be the other way? Will these supply chains suddenly start flowing again? Will global trade kind of open up and the wheels get greased a bit more? So there's all that sort of stuff to consider, but I think for me, it keeps coming back to what Jerome and his buddies at the Fed are thinking. And I personally think Jerome is focused. I think he references the 1970s an awful lot. Obviously, the era of Paul Volcker taming kind of high inflation, and I get the feeling that is what he wants to be. He wants to be seen as a kind of modern day Paul Volcker. So I think, we are going to, and he has acknowledged, the Fed has acknowledged that means causing damage to the economy. That he's kind of tacitly sort of said as much, that, they are expecting to see the labor markets, contract. They are expecting to see unemployment spike. Obviously, the labor market in the US has been strong for a long time now. But yeah, I think they're pretty determined to get that down, to get that inflation down. And I think that's going to make it a tough year in that sense.
And let me ask you, all of that, how it relates to Bitcoin. I want to ask you if you think Bitcoin has bottomed. But, Bitcoin's the market mover. And obviously, if any of us could predict the future, we'd all be rich. But, how low do you think Bitcoin could go? Could we see a 15,000 Bitcoin or what do you think?
I think we could go as low as 10,000. I believe that. I believe that in fact, I think we could even if we got to that 10K level, we could still maybe flash crash briefly below that on a particular black swan or something, something equally serious. But I think for one thing, we can go lower because the stock market is forecast to go lower. The recessions in the US, the recessions in Europe and elsewhere, they're only just getting started at the moment. Stocks are predicted to slide quite a lot more from here. And because of that correlation between the crypto market and the stock market, any slide in stocks will mean a heavier slide in Bitcoin and an even heavier slide, obviously, in alts. So I'm preparing myself for that eventuality as well. I think we've also got things like mining bans to worry about. Obviously, this comes back to energy, doesn't it? This idea that energy shortages, perhaps certainly in Europe, perhaps in the US as well. Obviously, legislators have made noises about Bitcoin miners being forced to switch off their machines if there is an energy crunch, an energy shortage. That would obviously have big implications for hash rate and network security, and I think that could definitely push BTC lower as well. What else? I'm also I wonder whether January, we're getting towards the end of what's been a really difficult year. Christmas is on the horizon. I think probably people are kind of putting off some big decisions. I think that's happening on a personal level. I think a lot of people will kind of look at themselves in the cold light of the new year and go, okay, I've got to service these debts. I've got to sell some assets to do that. I think we could also see more layoffs. I think a lot of companies, particularly a lot of tech companies, could be waiting until the new year and to do fresh rounds of firing as well. So yeah, there's a few factors that I think could all contribute to drive BTC lower as well. And of course, the one final one that springs to mind is Mt. Gox as well. I think a lot of people are very worried that the Mt. Gox creditors getting their Bitcoin back will cause a load of selling. I don't think it will be that bad, but I certainly think that could add some sell pressure at a time that will already be kind of difficult. So yeah, I can see BTC going down to 10K fairly easily. I think there's a good chance it can be more resilient than that, but that is what I'm kind of targeting.
For me, and I've said this all through 2022 as well, but for me, I've always thought, you know, in this bear market, whether Bitcoin trends up, sideways, or down, Bitcoin dominance is going to increase as people cycle out of these speculative alts. You know, SHIB still in the top 15, outrageous to me. Is that sort of similar to your thinking as well? Meaning you're in no hurry to touch the altcoins yet, other than keep tabs on them and see who's still developing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think, you know, there's so many interesting potential altcoins out there, but now is just not the time. And yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more flight to BTC as a safe haven. I think we're going to see a lot more flight to stables as well. I think, you know, I think a lot of people are going to choose to just hold it in, you know, hold their bags in kind of dry powder in stables and wait and see where the bottom could be. So yeah, it's going to be pretty brutal. But yeah, I'm fully with you that I think Bitcoin and probably ETH dominance as well are both going to be big recipients of that. I mean, do you feel that way about ETH too?
ETH has surprised me how well it's held up post-merge or pre-merge and then also post-merge. So I'm pleasantly surprised by ETH. And I think it's interesting that it is sort of separating itself the tiniest amount from all those other alts and putting it more in its own asset BTC camp. So I would agree.
Ethereum's in a much better spot this cycle than compared to 2018, 2019, just from a protocol level, the tokenomics with EIP 1559 and the merge, just as far as supply and demand from a narrative level. So yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I want to give you a... Guy,
sorry,
please.
go on, guys. Well, yeah, I was just going to say, I think, you know, you've got things like the Shanghai upgrade announced for March next year, and I think there's that real sense that Ethereum, you know, has moved on. They've moved on from the merge. Obviously, everything that's happened to the overall market, it's kind of taken it pretty, you know, in its stride pretty well, and there just seems to be a real momentum behind the whole project. You know, Shanghai is going to be a big upgrade. Obviously, that will be interesting to see what happens when people are able to unstake. I think we could actually, funnily enough, see more ETH staking as a result of that, because I think a lot of people will go, so okay, we can unstake. In that case, I'm now happy to stake as well. So I think, yeah, there's so much momentum with it. I'm bullish on it for that reason alone.
I want to give you a fun question, Guy. Let's say we're in the middle now of we're in the middle now of 2023. You know, a huge crash happens. You're ready to take out a position. Besides Bitcoin, what are 5 altcoins that you would look at to take out positions in during a crash?
Good question. Okay. Well, I'm not going to say Ethereum because I think that would be kind of obvious. But so what would my next 5 be? I think Atom, definitely. I'd be very quick to jump on that. I think it's an amazing project. I love Cosmos. I love I love this idea of interoperability. I think the project there's some really cool tech there. There's a great team behind it, and also, I must say, a really good community behind Cosmos as well. So I would certainly look to pick up some Atom, start staking it straight away, because there are some there's some amazing returns on staking Atom at the moment. Obviously, a few sort of tokenomic concerns to bear in mind with it, but I must say I was really impressed. Was it about 2 or 3 weeks ago? I think the community took a vote on Cosmos 2.0, didn't it? And they actually, as I recall, they kind of turned it down, which was a bit of a surprise to me. But I think that was a really positive sign for me, because it showed just how engaged the Cosmos community is. And I think that will result in the devs coming up with a better proposal for the project as a result. So Atom is definitely one that I would look to pick up. I can see myself as well picking up some Algo too. I think Algorand is a really interesting potential play for the next bull market. I think we could see a lot of really cool, really interesting, really successful projects develop in its ecosystem, during that time. I think it has a good shot as one of these non-EVM chains as well. I think that positions it really, really well. And yeah, there seems to be a lot of development, a kind of strong community behind Algo too. So that would be another one. What else would I pick up? I think I'd certainly go for Arweave. Now, I'm realizing that this is, but coincidentally, they're all beginning with A here. That's entirely. I'm just starting at the top of the alphabet. No, Arweave is a project I really, really like. I think it's got an amazing use case. Again, amazing tech and team. So a lot of those fundamentals match up for me. So yeah, Arweave I think is definitely one that I would go for too. What would be, so how many have I said? Is that 3 so far?
3.
3. Okay. I think as well, I would certainly be interested in looking at more projects in the Cosmos ecosystem, because again, I think there's really cool stuff happening in that whole project. So, I mean, these would be very, very speculative. So I'd probably be looking at things like Osmosis and Juno and things like that. I think those are cool projects. They've got a lot of development happening, good potential in that sector. And, I'm a big Cosmos fan, as I said. So I'd certainly be looking at those projects, maybe not snapping them up just yet, but we'll see. And I guess one more would be, well, A again, Aave. Because I think
because it starts with A.
Because it starts with 2 A's, yeah, that's double good. I think DeFi's time is going to come again. I think DeFi is going to be a big narrative of the next bull market. Aave is a really well-established project. It's got, again, the fundamentals are in place there. And I think it's one of these ones that's definitely, going to stick around, definitely going to be one of the survivors of this bear market. And I've kind of resisted getting into Aave before. So I think this would be, if we crash further from here, then I think that would be my time to pick that up too.
I'm with you with Aave, with Algo, with Atom. I wondered about Cardano, because Cardano, big community on YouTube, perhaps because Charles Hoskinson is streaming so often. What do you think about Cardano?
I like Cardano. I sort of have this weird thing with Cardano. It's like one day I'm really, really bullish on it. And the next day I kind of start questioning it and all that sort of stuff. And I guess that comes as a result partly of that community, because yeah, you're absolutely right. The Cardano community is one of the biggest, one of the most active, one of the most supportive. And Charles is this really kind of inspirational figure. Yeah, I think I would definitely look to pick up. So I sold out of ADA recently to hold in stable, but I think yeah, definitely be considering going back into it as well. Again, there's interesting stuff happening. I was a little bit disappointed to see that, I don't think there's been a huge amount of cooperation between projects on Cardano. I think, it's still, and I still keep hearing this stuff about how it's quite a difficult ecosystem to build in. But that said, I think there are really cool projects building there, and that community seems to be, enough to sustain it through tough times at least. So yeah, I would definitely be considering ADA as well. And obviously because it begins with A, so it's a no-brainer.
Next question, kind of personal. Feel free you don't have to answer if you don't want to. But right now, besides Bitcoin and ETH, what's your next biggest holding?
You guys are going to be very disappointed in me when I say this, but in fact, my biggest holding at the moment is USDC.
I think that's smart.
And yeah, my portfolio is very, very boring at the moment. I'm holding a lot in stable. I suppose after USDC, BTC, and ETH, it would be Atom would be my next holding. But I'm very, very top heavy in those first 3 because yeah, I just see it going the other way. Can I ask you guys what your answer to that question is?
I'm sorry, we're out of time, man. Great. No. For my altcoins,
tune in next week.
Yeah. I mean, I actually just recently did a video a couple weeks ago how I would invest $1,000 in cryptocurrency in 2023. Obviously, very personal to me. I'm just talking about my situation. But one of the biggest things for me was, besides the Bitcoin position, besides the ETH position, because as you mentioned, they're sort of on a different playing field. I'm a big L1 guy, a layer one protocol guy, because to me, and I think Cathie Wood said this first, that, you know, unlike the internet days where all the value accrued on it didn't accrue on the internet protocol, it accrued on the businesses that were built on top, like Amazon, whatever. In cryptocurrency now, today, the value is being accrued on those underlying chains. So no matter what aspect of DeFi makes it, or which NFT projects make it in the end, like the value is accruing on those base layers. So huge L1 guy. I'd go, man, what did I say? I said Cardano. I actually did say Cardano and Algorand, and no, Cosmos and Algorand. And I also put Cardano. I like Cosmos they seem more decentralized to me. They seem more sort of missionary driven instead of mercenary driven, meaning they care about sort of the value of the future of their project. Algorand was interesting to me because it's ISO 20022 compliant. I don't know how much weight you put into that stuff, but I was like, oh, okay, I'll get one in my portfolio. And let's see what those other L1s.
There's Polkadot, there's AVAX, there's eGold.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I mentioned those. It's in the video, guys. I'll link it down below.
I think with L1s as well, isn't it? I mean, stable coins are just so big at the moment and getting bigger. And I think, you know, that's going to be a big narrative for 2023, is that we're going to see, I think, increased crypto payments, and stable coins are going to be a huge part of that. And obviously that is big for whichever L1s those stable coins are running on. Because I think they're going to be, you know, they're going to become more and more widespread. And yeah, that means that, you know, I guess in a gold rush, the L1s are the guys selling picks to the miners, aren't they? So yeah, I think L1s are a good play. It's just picking the right ones after Ethereum.
Yeah, for me, I mean, Bitcoin and ETH are my two biggest holdings by far. But after that, as far as altcoins go, I'm not sure what's the next biggest. I'd have to look, but definitely in the mix as far as that next level is ADA, DOT, eGold. I have some Mina as an investor in it, and I think those are the next level. But let's pivot a little bit here because you have a lot of insight to share, Guy. I want to ask you about best advice for new crypto investors, and really think about this. Somebody coming in the space today, they probably have a better sense of what Bitcoin and ETH is compared to previous cycles. But, you know, does that mean if they don't have any, should they buy? Or like if there's a new person coming into crypto today, what advice would you impart on them?
That's a very good question. I think one of the important things that I remember being told this when I first started, you know, investing in general, was that you have to have skin in the game in order to learn about it. You know, you have to have that interest. So I would first of all advise someone, you know, coming in now, yeah, they've heard about BTC and ETH. I think they should get some, because I think they're the gold standard in the space. They're not going anywhere. You know, they're here to stay. I think we can be as certain of that as we can be of anything in crypto. I think for someone coming now, the real opportunity here, I think, is to be patient, because I think I always feel sorry for people who hear about crypto at the wrong time. You know, when it's going crazy, and everything happens so fast, and there isn't that time to just sort of sit back and go, hey, I'm just going to learn about this before I commit anything, you know, before I put any money down. So I think patience is a big part. Take your time. You're interested in a project, then don't let FOMO or YOLO or anything like that take a hold. Just read through it. You've got all of 2023, I think, almost. You know, it is a long period of of not a lot happening price wise in front of us, I think, and that is an ideal opportunity to be patient. Don't make decisions in the moment. You know, consider all these things. So I think patience is a big, and obviously that's a big thing for any investor and for a long-term crypto holder as well. You need to be patient. You need to be able to ride out the inevitable bear markets, the inevitable downturns. And I think those people who can't exercise patience are the ones who generally tend to, sell out at the wrong time. So patience would be a big one. And I think also, I guess, curiosity as well. Just ask questions, keep digging. Don't let confirmation bias overcome you. I think if you go out searching for good stuff about a particular coin or token, you'll find it. And then the temptation is to go, okay, that's what I thought, I'm going to buy. But actually let that curiosity take over. Ask questions, try and find opposing views, because we know how crypto works. There'll be plenty of people out there who love a project, and there'll be plenty of people out there who hate it. So you need to be able to go out and get both points of view, I think, and then come to an informed decision.
I agree with you totally. Just because you bought ADA in 2021 doesn't mean you have to be an ADA stan for life, or if you got involved with Hex or Bitcoin maximalism doesn't mean you can't be curious to see, okay, well, maybe I should learn a little bit more. I would add to that, also, if you're new to the space, have a plan. It's like nobody knows what the best strategy is for you specifically. Maybe you want to hold Bitcoin and ETH long term. You have to decide that. And what is long term to you? Is it 10 years? Is it 4 years? Maybe you're going to, dive into the, top 100 alts. Maybe you want to stay in the top 25. But, what is your plan for buying that at a certain point? Do you have a plan to realize those profits sometime? And that's the way I would think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this idea that, I think people should get away from the idea of being a trader as well. I think a lot of people come into crypto and think, I'll buy this up now, I'll flip it a couple of days later, I'll make a 10x, move on to the next thing. It's like trading is for the pros. The vast majority of people are not traders and should not think that they're traders. And that's exactly right. That's where you need to think about your time frame. What am I investing for? People might be looking to get a deposit for their first home, or they may be looking to buy a car, or pay some bills, or whatever it is. But I think too many people go into investing both in crypto and anything else without that clear plan. So absolutely right. Know what your goals are.
Guy, what's a song or an artist that's on your playlist right now?
What have I been listening to most recently? I've been listening to Richard Hawley, who is a singer-songwriter from the north of England. He's one of my favorite. I've been listening to a song called The Ocean, which is just very, very chilled and laid back. It's beautiful. I love all his work. So I've been kind of walking around with that on my headphones recently. What about you guys? What are you listening to?
Aaron?
I've been listening to the new Drake 21 Savage album, Her Loss. I mean, I would say, having nothing to do with his personal thoughts, the OG Kanye music is good. That's
You've just been canceled, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
I like
just like that. Goodbye, Aaron.
I like Third Eye Blind. Been on my playlist for decades now. OG band.
Mm-hmm.
This interview, Guy, this is going to actually be released on Christmas. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. Wow, what an honor. Well, Merry Christmas to you guys, and Merry Christmas to everyone watching. Do you reckon then that the people watching this are going to be those people who have just finally lost patience with their families? They've had too much wine has been drunk, too many arguments over the turkey, and they've just gone, do you know what? I'm just going to sneak off and I'm going to see what Altcoin Daily, what those guys are up to. I need some succor.
I hope so, or else why the hell are we doing this, gentlemen? If not for that.
Good question.
But looking as we wrap this up, fun question again for you, Guy. By Christmas in 2030, Bitcoin price prediction, just for fun.
Oh, okay. Christmas 2030. I think we're definitely in six-figure Bitcoin by then. Christmas 2030. Wow, that's so. I'm trying to think of that in terms of cycles. Will we be in a bull market or bear market then? 2030. I'm going to say Christmas 2030, 200K BTC by then. I'm fully prepared to be completely wrong on that. I hope I'm wrong to the downside. But yeah, that would be my best guess, completely plucked out of thin air. What are you guys saying?
Well, we'll go through two cycles. So we have the two halvings, the halving in 2024, the halving in 2028. I think by next halving, or maybe a year after, 6 months before, whenever, I think, I'm a believer. Guy, call me crazy. I've drank the Kool-Aid. I'm a believer. That's my bias. I'd like to think in over 100K Bitcoin, at least if nothing else, to touch it for a day or a week, sometime, next cycle. A cycle after that, I would say, damn, it's so hard to go that far out. I would say Bitcoin's market cap, I would say that I'm going to say $200,001. So if Price is Right rules, I think it'll be slightly higher.
I'd say 2030, give or take a couple years. Bitcoin between 250,000 to 400,000. Ethereum over 15.
Okay.
Guy, Ethereum for you?
Ethereum for me, yeah, I would say Ethereum over 10 by that point, certainly. Actually, I wouldn't be at all surprised if it was around 15 by that point. 15K Ethereum by 2030. I can see that. Well, assuming that inflation hasn't eaten away all the value of that means that Christmas 2030 could be a pretty good one.
We'll have to stream again in that 6 years, whatever, and we'll come back to this, guys. Stay tuned.
We'll all be streaming from sort of gold-plated mansions by that point, will we?
Guy, exactly. Guy, I'll let you go. Links for all your stuff down below. Final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily Army.
Guys, final thoughts. It's been a rough old year, but things will get better. The future is always brighter than it appears. So stick with it. Keep watching Altcoin Daily. Keep watching these guys do their amazing work. Keep the faith. And 2023 will get better, I promise.